guys got Wylie, and he's from
Hmm.
Penny and
Crew.
Crew. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you wanted to do a therapy dog.
Yeah.
And it was super cool how it all worked out that you guys got him to begin with.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It was a fast, quick change, but perfect at the same time.
Yeah, you guys handled it very, very well. You rolled it beautifully. And
Yeah.
then so then you started out training him and you wanted so explain a little bit about what you do and what your goals were.
Yeah, so I'm a psychologist and I work as a therapist at CU Boulder, University of Colorado Boulder's Counseling Center. So I provide individual and group therapy for undergrad and grad students. And Carrie, my wife, is also a high school counselor. So both in the mental health field, and thought, yeah, therapy dog work is really awesome and wanted to see if we could have that be part of our lives too. So yeah, the goal is to get Wiley to be a therapy dog. It definitely is easier for him to come with me to work than going to school with Carrie, just because in school districts it's a little bit harder to work with. And she's honestly running around doing a million different things every day, so I think that would be even harder. But for me, I really just do individual and group therapy. At least on the days where I'm bringing him, I can like make my schedule be that's all that I'm doing. So he, yeah, has been working with me, and the training was a very important part of that.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so we started off pretty much right after we got Wiley, so he was like 2 months old, doing both specific like socialization training as well as like skills, manners training, which was both in specific like training classes as well as like outside of it. So the important things were really getting him to be able to pass the canine good citizen as far as like the skills and some of the socialization, as well as even just past that, like really the socialization is such an important part of therapy dog work because he has to be ready for anything in a sense of just like not being too anxious or fearful of different stimuli or environments. So that, I mean, the skills part is really important too, but I honestly, now that we've been doing the work more, I'm so glad about all the socialization that we did.
Yeah. What were the things that you did in socialization, Jonathan, that you think prepared him the best?
Yeah, so we definitely like followed the checklist that you sent out, and just getting him used to all different types of people and environments and just like situations. So we live really close to like an outdoor shopping area. So we would take him there starting really young, even when he was just kind of like on me when he didn't even have the vaccine. So I didn't really want him being like out like exploring too much, but at least just like I had a little like carrier that I had him in so he could just get used to it. And just like seeing all the people walking around, the crowds, there were like it's outdoors, so there were other animals there too, obviously keeping like distance based on what felt the best for him.
Right.
But just getting used to, and there's also just like a lot of sounds that are going on over there. It's nearby a highway too, so we could even just hear like a lot of the car sounds and different things like that. Um, and the specific socialization training classes we did, every time they had pretty much like a different almost like theme where like one time it was medical equipment. So they were bringing in like wheelchairs, like the IV moving pole things, crutches, yeah, a lot of different like medical equipment. And then other times, I think there was a time where it was almost like baby or like child focused because they had different strollers, they had like baby dolls, different toys that were like kid toys. So even the idea of like not every toy that you see gets to be like your toy, and with different sounds that come with them too. So I'm sure I'm missing some, but a lot of the classes specifically that we did around socialization just got them used to different things they could see, sounds they could hear. And also like movements because even with like the wheelchairs or different things, well, like even though you're not going to see people speeding past on a wheelchair, hopefully they did, right, like kind of move it really fast, just like all these worst case scenarios of if something happened, then being able to be used to that and have it not be something that was really scary.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And do you see that helping now? Because I imagine he's seeing all different sizes and heights and depth of voice and glasses
Totally.
and hoods and all that
Yes.
helped him to not freak out and that stuff.
Yeah, he really doesn't have any different like any reactions other than just like excitement and happiness and like seeing a lot of different types of people. I work with like again undergrads and grad students, all different, racial identities,
Uh,
genders, like wearing different a lot of different things too. Actually, just we had somebody who I met with the first time in person, and I didn't realize how tall they were, but a very tall student came in and he was there, and it was like not a big deal. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice. And we actually like, I mean, it's an unfortunate scenario, but we do have times where folks in the counseling center need to go to the hospital. And there was a time where we were walking out of our center to, I think, just go to the bathroom or something. And I didn't know, but there was medical workers and a stretcher that were like right outside. And we kind of like ran into them. But again, it wasn't a thing, which was
Great.
really great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because that can scare him. Like Gracie had a ton of socialization, but and the I didn't even we would take her to parks a lot, neighborhood, walk her in the neighborhood all the time. I take her wherever I went, anywhere. This was in Kansas City, but she didn't have a lot of exposure to dark-skinned people. And I
Yeah,
never even was on my radar.
for
And
sure.
to this day, like she'll react if she sees someone with dark skin, and it's because she wasn't socializing that crucial period um as a baby. So those first 2 months when they're home, it's so crucial. And I love that you guys took him and let him observe, and they don't have to interact. The people don't
Yeah.
have to pet him. The dogs don't have to play with him. And in fact, it's better if they don't most of the time, because otherwise they think that's their right. Which
Yeah.
East does. And like you're walking and she sees a person, she starts going, no, no.
Totally. Yeah, which is so important for therapy dog work too. I mean, I think that's a good skill all around, but we were really intentional about like honestly for the most part when we were out and about, like him not saying hi to people or to other dogs or anything because when he's at work, that's like a big no, right? When I'm walking around campus or in the hallways, like he does need to be focused on me. So him being able to know that's like the biggest rule that I make sure to communicate to all the coworkers of like, I get it if you want to say hi, that's totally fine, but like has to be in our office. If we're walking in the hallways, he can't just learn that like anyone he's passing in the hallways, he gets pets or attention or anything.
Love that. That's great. And you really have to be the advocate for him and enforcing that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It was funny, because when I told like I did a staff meeting and kind of presented on animal assisted therapy just to like get people understanding what we were going to be doing. And one person kind of commented and they're like, you know what, like it's actually not a normal thing to just stop and pet any coworker. So I'll just try and have that mindset.
Exactly. I tell that to
Yeah.
people too, because they always reach for the top of the head. And the
Yeah.
dog's going like this, and they keep trying to pet him. And the dogs are like, what are you doing? I'm like, what if I did that to you?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
totally.
don't touch my head.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big issue. That's great.
Mhm.
So, okay, so he's doing individual and group therapy with you.
Yes.
What have
Mhm.
you noticed he brings to the table? How has he helped clients? What do you notice?
Yeah. With, I mean, I could say probably a lot of like commonalities between the two, but I'll kind of break it up because individual therapy, at least so far, I've been doing less of like true animal assisted therapy interventions that we were trained in, and he's more of just like that calming, grounding presence. And so the most I've seen there is just like kind of taking away worry or anxiousness or even just like too strong of filters that people can sometimes have in therapy where they struggle to put things to words because they almost want to put it perfectly, which at least from my perspective, like it's better to just like share what you're feeling and what you're thinking in those moments rather than having to try and like say the perfect thing because I don't even know if that truly exists.
Right?
So I've had so many people where I'm working with them, just the student and myself initially, and they're really struggling, just like taking a long time to communicate. And it's just kind of like a slower pace, which is obviously fine at times. But it was so interesting to see once we bring Wiley in and he's just like on their lap and they're kind of focused on him as they're talking. And it was like, no filter at all in the sense of like this is so easy to talk about. I can just like talk and then afterwards them being able to reflect of like, whoa, like that was kind of wild. Like I was able to talk so much and I wasn't even really thinking about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And then I think too, I've like there have been some times where and there's like a balance because for the therapy that I do, I really want emotions to be present. So the idea of getting emotional in session, I think can be a really positive thing.
yes.
But so often people are afraid of if I am, if my emotions come out, I won't be able to stop them. They'll just be unleashed and kind of worry about that control around it. And Wiley's able to come in, and even a couple times if he's like kind of hanging out in his bed and then the student starts to get emotional, I mean, this is, I think, more just like that innate quality that makes him so good for the work. He goes over and kind of just sits by them and gets some pets, and they can kind of like work through in a way where the emotions are still there, but it feels like him being there is just a little bit more of a base for letting
Yeah.
those out.
Grounds them maybe a little bit more.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
amazing. And so Wiley is from Penny,
Hmm.
and she her parents are in a ministry. And Penny, when they socialized her, they were in a huge church and they took her in all the time and everybody could pet her. And so as a
Hmm.
result, Penny really doesn't like a lot of people. It takes her a while to
Hmm.
like people around because they would violate her so much. She's just like, get away from me. But if
Yeah.
somebody got upset, Penny would do exactly what you said. That like if they'd come over to their house, Penny would go sit at their legs.
Yeah, it was
Let
funny actually. I was meeting with, I have like a supervisee where we talk through their cases as they're in training, and he was like reenacting a session he had had where the person was kind of getting angry and expressing a lot of stuff. And Wiley was just kind of like calm at his feet for a second, and immediately, like once he started like even just reenacting, like kind of going back through some of it, he kind of like popped up on his lap and was like making sure that he was okay and checking in.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, it's really cool. And I'll say for the group therapy, we just started doing the group. We're like kind of 3 weeks in, but it is now my favorite thing that we're doing because that's where we really get to do the true like interventions where they're playing games or doing activities with Wiley, and we use it for like therapeutic progress. So the just yesterday, actually, we did an activity to kind of help them learn what it feels like to give and receive feedback, especially like constructive feedback, which is something you often don't get a lot of time like experiential learning with. You might have like leadership seminars or different things where you can learn, but especially like at that age as college students, it's pretty rare. So they each went through and like took turns individually being like the trainer in the middle of the group and trying to teach Wiley a new skill. And then everybody on the outside was the evaluator. So we would do a little bit, we would break, and then have the evaluators give feedback to the person in the middle. Then they would apply it, and then we ended with like another round of feedback, and then we just got to spend time talking once they were all done of like what was it like to receive the feedback, how did that feel, how did it feel to give the feedback, and then kind of being able to name like, yeah, like I actually love receiving constructive feedback, it's so hard to give because I feel like I'm being too critical, but then being able to know like right there in that moment, like, no, I didn't think you were being critical at all, that was really helpful, and just being able to have a really cool like process experience learning from it.
That's amazing. And I can see that helping them because so I'm an introvert and an extrovert. Like if it's people
Mm-hmm.
I know, I'm very extroverted, but if it's people I don't know, I am very introvert. And like my one of the things I hate the most about church is they'll be like, turn around and say hello to your neighbor. I'm like, no, I
Yeah,
hate
right.
that
Yeah.
so much. I shut
Yeah.
down. And so many people do. And so
Yeah.
um having something like that also is going to help those people to just learn, like kind of like you said, to be able to just talk because the
Hmm.
focus isn't them, it's Wiley. That's amazing. That would
Yeah.
just be so helpful. I hate any like okay, if you're at a bridal shower and you know everybody and you do the games, I love it. If I don't know
Mhm.
people, I'm like, nope.
Totally different.
Totally.
Yeah.
But in that situation, that would make it so safe to be able to do that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it was. So I'm really loving that group and hope I can keep offering it with Wiley because that's where I feel like I'm really doing like true animal assisted therapy rather than him just kind of, which like it is a therapeutic thing for him to be a presence in the room, but thinking about him as like a true like therapy intervention feels like the group has been a really good space for that.
And so therapy intervention, like what kinds of things do you look for him to do?
Yeah, so and this is where I was saying like I've learned that or I just have started to feel that the socialization has been the biggest thing rather than like necessarily certain skills, which like obviously the skills were important to get the CGC passed since that's usually a need for getting a therapy dog approved, but so far a lot of the things have been like the members actually trying to teach him things. So it's not even things like it's not him being able to do the skills he already learns. We're actually like trying to make them do things he doesn't know and kind of figuring out like just like the process of doing that. Like last week it actually worked out really well that he has never wanted to learn like rollover. That's just like not been his thing. So last week we actually did an exercise where they were going through and trying to teach it to him. And the goal was, and this is going to sound so bad, but the goal was to have the members kind of struggle and have their own emotional response, especially like seeing Wiley get a little bit frustrated too, because it's like this thing that he doesn't want to do and doesn't really know how to do, to kind of bring up an emotional response from them that
Wow.
we then worked on when we talked about skills and strategies for like continuing to work through tasks when we are facing like some of those difficult emotions. But it was so it's I think, while certainly like those manner skills are important and I still use them as far as the actual interventions, it's kind of just the idea that we have enough of a strong connection where he has the trust that I'm not going to put him in any bad situations or with like around bad people or anything like that, as well as just like him being socialized to like wanting to work and like do things with other people rather than like just being super connected or attached to me.
Right. That's huge. That's such a big point.
Yeah.
It's really, really huge. And I could see that really helping people in therapy too.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about group probably a million times, but in our very first group appointment, this has been my favorite moment so far. One of the group members was coming, and their goal was really just like their new student and just struggling to connect. And they're like, there's some things I can work on, but really, I just want like a space every week where I'm like expected and people will be like happy that I'm there, right? Just the idea of like I want to be connected. They're a little bit shyer, and we were doing just like having them go through and as they were building a relationship with Wiley, like running through the tricks and the commands that he does know. So both the all the other members went, and then they were up last, and they were trying to go and just like couldn't get it. They've never had a pet, so just like weren't sure as far as like they just weren't as comfortable. So they were struggling and struggling. And I could see them kind of getting a little bit defeated. And then their very last go, they got him to do, well, I can't remember exactly what, but got him to do the thing like perfectly, like so well. And the whole group just like exploded and cheered and celebrated. And it was just this like magical moment of like, this person's coming into this space, like just wanting to connect and feel part of something. And then in the very first group session, like had such a lovely experience with it.
Beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. That's so,
Yeah,
animals are so much safer than people, but then the people were able to react and connect with that. That's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and the idea that that Wiley was wanting to continue working with this student, I think is something that's more about like the socialization and again that he and I had created a good bond, so he like knew right that he was in a safe space to like work and all that. So,
And that's just going to grow the more you do this.
yeah, yeah. It's been really cool to even see him like build his relationships with all the group members as they've come back and like even the individual therapy students that I have where he's like starting to recognize them and get like I can tell when he's like a little bit more excited to see a person he knows, right, than rather than like a brand new person.
That's so neat. So in the sessions, is he starting out like in stay at a place or is he allowed to just intermingle as he wants?
Yeah, so we go because he has to be with me at all times. So I walk with him to um, get the student from the lobby. We walk back in the hallway, and that's where I said like the rule is right. Like in the hallway, he's got to still be focused on me as far as like walking right by me. And then once we get into my office and I close the door, is when I can like let go of the leash. But I usually have him sit and like make sure the student's like sitting down and ready, and then I kind of might the um phrase is just like go say hi, and then he runs up and gets to give all the attention and get all the attention.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
Oh, cool. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
What's something that you wish you had known in training when
Mhm.
when you first got them or in the process of training?
That's a good question. Um, I think I would say one thing that I would probably change is I think we could have done better with other dogs when he does get to say hi. I feel like whenever it was a chance where he actually got to interact with dogs, it was like full on playtime. Like we were playing the entire time. He never really had like calm, not
Oh,
calm is too strong word, but to kind of just like hanging out experiences with other dogs, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It would be like coming over for playtime, and then as soon as playtime's done, then we're leaving. So I think I've seen now where it is like on the walks, he knows, right? Like we're not playing or anything like that. But if there are ever times where, like he does okay, but it's not to the point where I feel totally comfortable. If we were just to like go to a restaurant and be like outside or something in that environment where he is just like relaxing, if there is another dog, I think he's like, wait, both of us are here. We're in the same space for a long period of time. Like, I think we should be playing that kind of,
That's awesome.
which is like a really specific nuance, but I think it's something that just like it's looking back, I'm like, oh well, yeah, like the only time you've been around like in the same space with another dog for a long period of time or whatever is like you get to play the whole time.
Right.
So I think that's something that I would probably shift or like wish I would have known. Not specific to the therapy dog, but
Sure.
I mean that I guess if I want to relate it, like any kind of situations or events we could do where there's like multiple therapy dog presents, which is like a pretty common thing. Like we can't do that for him because I think he would be more focused on playing with the other dogs rather than the people. So that is how it kind of does relate to the work actually.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So, an exercise you could do with him, and I can send you this. It's called sit on the dog. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
go to a park where there's a lot of dogs, or go outside of a dog park, not in it, and
Yeah.
have him on leash, and you sit on the leash and you just read a book.
Mm-hmm.
And you ignore him 100%. He can have a bone, he can have toys. Um, but the clock starts as soon as he lays down and settles.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to learn that automatic off switch.
Yeah.
And then I would pair it with the lift to sit for him
Mm-hmm.
probably. So if he does get up, you would just lift until he sat and then have him sit down. We did that right when you guys were here with Templeton.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is funny. Like we've definitely done that with Templeton, and I just didn't think about transferring it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. But if you do that with him enough
Mm-hmm.
around other dogs, and maybe start it after he's tired, like after he and Templeton have played.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, where he's already coming in with that energy lower.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good
Yep.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I'm so excited for you guys. And I'm so excited for your clients. What have your clients' reactions been?
They've been so excited. I have so many people now who like will only schedule on like the day that Wiley is there, which is like tough because it makes it like pretty booked out. I'm like, we
I
could fix
bet.
it sooner, but yeah, I mean, I think it is. Um, Either right they find that it's like helpful as far as like just focusing on petting him or like that grounding presence as they're talking about difficult things. Also it's just like even if there's nothing overtly stressful or like difficult that they're talking about in different moments, the idea of like I can just because so many college students right are away from their pets, and they don't really get to interact with them. So even just the idea of like I can just get some like animal love, right, and like fill that bucket a little bit.
Yeah.
I think are like the biggest things. Um, yeah, like and there's yeah, I'm just laughing because I've gotten like messages of students um just like with excitement. They've like, I can't wait to see Wiley in a couple days or anything. Where I've like, no,
No,
there's not like it's through their like official like medical portal, and they're just messaging me about like being excited to see Wiley. So they've
that's
been
amazing.
really thrilled, and I mean, uh, certainly I've got students who like prefer not, and that's totally fine too. And I think that's like an important piece of all this is I'm always like screening and having conversations with students about it before they're even in a room with Wiley. So really talking to them about like if it's something they would want, even if it is something they would want, like really talking about like here's what it would be like. He would like right, he would want pets. I mean, he can listen, right? But like the idea is if he's in there with you, like here's how it might impact certain elements of this. Like, does that all feel okay?
I love that so much.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's really neat. Wow. Um, super incredible that people are working through some really hard stuff.
Hmm.
um, would be able to have that to help them to look forward to it because it's hard to go in and bare your guts and get to the deep things. And so that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's been really cool. Yeah, I feel like we started in October, like kind of off and on for last semester and then have been more consistent this semester. So really like now it's done. He goes in 1 day a week. So when you like add them all up, it's not a ton of days, but I feel like I already have so many examples and so many stories, and I'm like in the back of my mind of like how great it's been. And honestly, I want to do more for our like staff, like our coworkers too, as far as just like an internal thing of just like we do really hard work too, right? And the idea of what he could do for them. I'd like to build up more of that, but even staff being really excited to see him and meet him and him like making their days a little bit easier too.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. I love
Hmm.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you can get burned out pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
That's so exciting. Well, you have to keep us posted with how he's doing, and we're so proud of you guys. And just what a beautiful thing that you get to participate in, not only with him for your relationship with him and how rewarding that has to be for you as dad
Mhm.
to watch, but then as the psychologist to watch the growth of your clients. That's just really, really cool.
Yeah, it has been really cool. It was weirdly like stressful when I was like finally got through everything and I was like, oh, like I was so excited in the process. And when it came time to like, oh, I'm actually bringing him in, I like got stressed of just like, oh, like what if this isn't going to be a good fit, or like what if he doesn't like it, right? Like what if this just doesn't work? And which could have been totally possible, right? I went in being like, if this just doesn't work, I'm not going to force it. But it has been really nice to see like so many benefits across the board of like, yeah, Wiley and I's relationship, the students really benefiting, staff like across the board. It's just been really, really great.
I love that. That's awesome. And you probably notice a huge difference at home and calmness and
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, passes out when we get home on Fridays, and it definitely carries over into Saturdays too. He gets
yeah,
really tired. Yeah.
really fulfills him too in a
Yeah.
special way. So that's super cool. Do you think Templeton could ever do it?
Oh, I think Templeton has such emotional connection to people and loves people and really does get attuned pretty well. But I think he is the flip side of that connection where he actually takes on those emotions
Yeah.
themselves, which is a big part of like the temperament piece of like I know like you all did your early temperaments with Wiley and it looked good for him. And we also did one with like a professional therapy dog organization in Colorado when we were getting closer just to like check in again. And one of the biggest things they were looking for is that they're not taking on the emotions themselves. It's you can be really connected and attuned to people, but I think it's that extra step to make sure to pair like, but what is the impact of that attunement on the dog? Like Wiley can brush it off and feel fine. He's connected, he understands, but he doesn't have that weight on him himself. Templeton, I think, carries that weight a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's tough. And it's so neat. That's my favorite part of the temperament testing we do to see
Hmm.
how that emotion impacts the dogs, and the dogs that truly carry it, it would burn them out if they're in that situation. Yeah, they can't handle it.
Yeah.
They could do like maybe going to a senior home where their people are fine, like
Hmm.
stuff, but they can't deal with the emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's really nice just with like Templeton. I know he's not the therapy dog we're discussing, but seeing him just like grow and different things too. I've done a lot of training with him since getting him, and really like the emotional connections and like relationships he's been able to form with Carrie and I. He is so connected to Carrie, and that's so cool to see too.
That's so sweet. So you each have your dog at night. They got
Yeah.
Templeton. He was a year, wasn't he?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't work out with his first family, and he had missed a lot of key socialization
Hmm.
and training. And yeah, so that's awesome. He's a
Yeah.
great,
Yeah. They're
he
both
was,
sweeties.
yeah, I still remember he was so chill as a puppy. So
Mm.
chill to sit and watch. A lot of times the big
Yes.
boys are.
Yeah, he does still love to sit and watch. That is true since his puppy days.
I love it. I
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
we're so proud of you. Thank you for taking this time to share with us. It's just yeah, I can't tell you how special that is. It's very rewarding for us to get to see one of our dogs go impact the world in such a beautiful way. So thank you for all you do and for all you've done with him.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you giving me some space to talk about him, and thanks for making it an easy thing to just pick up what you had already started with him and kind
Love
of just
it.
like continue it on. And yeah, for anybody watching or that you're connected to that is interested in therapy dog work, I'm happy to connect.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, because I do have a lot of people that talk about that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, say hi to Carrie for me. Give the boys kisses.
I
And
will. Thanks,
you
Kim.
take care, Jonathan.
Bye.
Bye.